teams and preventing them from getting those points. So we'll see how the first draft shakes out here. King versus EP here for their first game. Victor and Annie already banned out by King, and a Rek'Sai ban there as well for EP.
Interesting to see Shu actually join the Respect Annie ban. I guess it takes away potentially the completed red side first two picks. Maybe Graves Annie is a completed bot lane they didn't want to see coming out from EP. But a Respect ban to the support, and now Amazing J's and Nara's ban still leaves Hecarim.
It does, and an Ari ban there as well, but EP is kind of a lot of targeted bans flying back and forth between these two teams in this phase, and EP have one more ban left. Traditionally would have said Cassidy was the one, but of course he's not really played at all on this patch since the changes, and it could be Lissandra, that's the other big obvious champion that's open, but EP of course will probably have something special.
It's actually pretty awkward they had to ban Ari. I already mentioned it's Ari and Victor that at the moment EP is 4-0 on. With Raphael looking so impressive on both champions, have to ban the Ari on red side, despite it being patch 5.4. Obviously don't have a plan available against Ari. It allows Thresh to come through, but not a big threatening first pick, and a lot available on the red side. You know the Hecarim's coming.
Yeah, and there is Lissandra open as well. I don't recall if anyone at EP actually plays the champion. Amazing J obviously would prefer something a bit more like the Hecarim. Lee Sin, of course, open as well for Drizzle. It's been a common early pick for Energy Pacemaker throughout their LPL once he's stepped onto the team, but plenty of options here again, and, you know, they might just keep it simple.
I mean, with the mid lane pool going away a little bit, Raphael, he's going to opt for the very early first rotation LeBlanc. We saw the same thing coming through from Pawn and EDG. A lot of people rating the power of LeBlanc on this patch, with especially some of the counters and skill matchups banned away. But King, they must have expected at least the Hecarim pick coming through. So I hope they have a really tailored game plan to deal with Energy Pacemaker.
Yeah, I like the LeBlanc here as well. Raphael's actually one of the league's other LeBlanc players, and has been very strong on the champion when he's got it. So makes sense. Obviously, giving away their solo lanes might be a bit awkward, but it should just be fine here. And King going to pick away some other interesting champions for themselves. Looks like Whoosh might be going back to Kalista, and it is Kalista Rengar here.
I've only seen one Kalista today, I believe. Wasn't necessarily the most effective. The Ren sets have definitely been nerfed with the change to Martial Poise. I mean, you just have less mobility, less ability to dodge, but less mobility to just spread your Ren stacks to the back line. EP, Kane, he's like, all right, it's Graves time.
Yep, I mean, he knows where he's at. You know, could have taken Corki, prefers the slightly more aggressive Graves, and Lee Sin, of course, going to go over to Drizzle. Raphael keeps hovering Malzahar, by the way. Maybe 1 week he'll pull it out, but for this game, he's going to be on the LeBlanc.
And that's a locked-in Cho'Gath, by the way.
This is the world we live in now. A world where Cho'Gath is a common pick in the LPL, and you're right, already locked in. That should be a mid as well. Yep, they're going to hover Maokai. So Maokai Cho'Gath here for King. That's going to bring Assassin, another new champion.
Sometimes, Space Your Time, I wish that I was on the Ionia Chinese server and was waiting for some of these trends. I mean, it was the start of the 2014 spring season that everyone decided that Sword the Occult was a core item for AD carries, and there must be some popularity of the mid Cho'Gath, because this is 3 mid Cho'Gaths we've seen in less weeks.
Listen, the thing is, right, when you know, the patch changes, Xerath and Azir sort of rotated out of the
and
metagame.
No changes come whatsoever to Cho'Gath.
The obvious inclusion is AP Cho'Gath mid.
Cho'Gath's only change is the fact that he feasts a bit faster, so he gets the feast stacks back. No real change to his combat stats. And the popularity of Cho'Gath, it moves teams. But King, it's just weird how often King allow enemy teams to pick comfort. There's like comfort champions abound. Maybe not Shu's Braum, but everything else is basically first or second string for the player. EP have got everything they want, and they didn't even have to fight for it.
No, I mean, you already mentioned it. They picked their solo laners. Kane just casually picked up the Graves, and I like the Braum here as well. I feel like Braum especially is quite good against Thresh, especially, and just maybe doesn't see as much play as you'd expect, given especially how much the Chinese supports love their engage. But Cho'Gath again here. I have to say, in VT's Game 1 comp that we saw them play today, looked like a masterstroke from them. No idea what it's doing in this comp, though.
No, I mean, you don't necessarily see the same balanced dive. It's actually a very tanky lineup. 2 melee solo laners means not a lot of range damage whatsoever coming through from King. Kalista, not the best turret pusher either. So the turret pushing's not the best. I actually agree. The Braum pickup fits the comp because they got the dive of Rengar. Maokai to some degree is going to be diving the backline. Not a lot of damage coming out from the King comp either. Again, I didn't necessarily see all the synergies coming through from the Vici Gaming comp in Game 1 until later in the game. I'm gonna remain skeptical about what King are doing, but at the end of the day, I really like what EP have picked. They got strong champions across the board. Their power spikes are in line, and Amazing J on Hecarim. What's not to like?
Yeah, and again, EP kind of sticking to what we've seen them a lot, but you know what? We're going to see them in a second. Let's get onto the Rift. And welcome back for our last game of the evening here. Of course, King versus Energy Pacemaker in our last best of 2 for the day here. And King sitting now under the 8th place that Royal just stole away from them. Need to start picking up some points here.
Yeah, we're going to go straight into a pause. 29:40 is the pause timer as we're just chilling on the Rift. Item pickups, nothing too exciting coming through from them just to start off the game. Going to be a really interesting one, Page, because I'm remaining skeptical. Like I said, I want to be convinced what King are running. They're so fiercely melee, though. That's the crazy thing, is that their second longest range champion is Thresh.
That's true. There's a lot of, there's Cho'Gath happening. There is actually Dawn entering there, so it isn't some sort of crazy bruiser Cho'Gath. There is going to be AP Cho again here. Maybe it's a lane matchup thing. Maybe it's everybody's been playing Cho'Gath on the local server. Not too sure, but King, I think their best looking games have been games where they've drafted very well and put together a very good plan and executed it well. So I believe that they have something planned here for the Cho'Gath.
Yeah, we remember back to King vs. Snake, of course, taking that first game off Snake with the very smart fast rotation Twitch comp they were running. Took to the late game to pick up the victory, but it was their early rotations that really afforded the victory over Snake, the first victory over Snake so far in the LPL, I believe in week 2 of the season. I don't necessarily see the synergy here just because, again, they have a hard time sieging. Their team fight's pretty good, especially if Cho'Gath hits his Rupture, hits his CC. Whoosh on the Kalista has seen some nerfs this patch, so the AoE build, which, to be honest, probably is looking forward to just because, again, not the most tankiness on the EP side, especially Amazing J probably wants to build up towards the Trinity Force, so won't necessarily be a tanky frontline horse until later in the game, as it has been target nerfed with the changes to the Martial Poise. The laning is fine. It's very safe coming through from all these champions. Cho'Gath is fine in the LeBlanc matchup just because, again, he has a lot of sustain coming through from his passive. And is able to eat waves, pick up the extra mana and health regen. But there's no synergy screaming out to me. There's no really strong siege. There's decent team fighting, poor turret pushing, good control over neutrals, I guess. And look, if Rengar can get snowballing, anything's possible from a jungle Rengar. But King, they've got a lot of things, but I don't know how they fit necessarily into a winning team.
Yeah, they have a lot of pick potential as well, I think is maybe the other thing. Between the whole Thresh, Rengar, and then lots of good follow-up CC with both Maokai and Cho'Gath. If they get some good words on it, you mentioned Rengar. MLXG loves this champion. He's picked it all the time. I don't know how good his win rate is on it, given that Rengar's not had the best showing so far this split of the LPL, but if he can get going, like you mentioned, really anything's possible, and Rengar enables a lot of what this team can do if he gets ahead.
But I mean, so much of the damage potential relies on Whoosh, on the AD carry. You got the burst coming through from Assassin, will be very respectable, has high AP ratios, lowish cooldowns, although, you need the 40% CDR to get the cooldown down to 5 seconds on the Rupture. Not really any other damage to speak of, so maybe we'll see MLXG go for this more aggressive Rengar build, do it better than Insec and actually start stacking their Brutalizers. Maybe that will be the adaptation, but the damage isn't big, and it relies on Whoosh, who, again, just like his team, he has his good days and he has his bad days.
Yeah, and when he plays well, he plays really well. So hopefully for King, it's a good game for him, but EP have just been looking, again, weird to say about a bottom team, but consistent. They've been very consistent. They've done crazy stuff, but they've kind of kept it all cohesive and looked great as a team. So a joy to watch here. Going to be a very standard EP game for them because, like you mentioned, they got all comfort picks here, and people are mixing it up. No more Azir, no more Xerath, really, like we saw in the last few patches, so why not a Cho'Gath?
I'd actually like to see Amazing J copy what Looper did on the Hecarim, actually start the Wolves. He was able to start that camp with just chugging some of the Flask charges and get level 2 very, very early. It is looking like it's going to be a 1v1 matchup in the top lane. No one looks like they're trying to force 2v2. In fact, I believe it was Candy who was heartedly beating Wei in the Kalista vs. Graves matchup. There is definitely outplay potential for Kalista vs. Graves. Need to keep track of whether the enemy comes into lane with extra experience or not. That seems to be the big factor, the level 2.
Yeah, you just don't want to get surprised, which is obviously very important. But looks like now the team is really going to look for a lane. No, never mind. As I say that, the lane swap actually is going to get spotted out by King. EP, I think we're looking for the dual lane, seeing if they were down towards the red side jungle. But if King want the lane swap, and it looks like they do, they should be able to get the isolated lane. But nope, Kane tricked me. He's actually up in the top lane already.
Kane is way ahead of it. So if they're looking for 2v2, you have to say the counter swap is on by EP. It looks like it's going to be 2v2 action in the top, maybe even 1v1. As at the moment, Braum is, though, going to go in group with the top lane. As, yep, Amazing J, he's obviously watched the VODs. He knows that you can start those walls quite happily.
Yep, did his research here. Wish actually in the top lane. Shoo! I think saw 3 members of King, so they should know that that buff is getting started there. But he's going to walk in with Kane here. Will get spotted off by a wall, but Callista's here. EP successfully counter-swap.
Yeah, but I mean, it's actually a risk at this point for Lee Sin to pick up the red buff. He's going to have to go solo. He doesn't have anybody to leash that for him, and it is 2v2 as the result in top. So at least in terms of jungle efficiency, it looks like early advantage is going to be with King.
Yeah, good little late invade. They're actually getting them the buff and potentially denying the second, but Drizzle already down towards the red buff should be okay to get it. Amazing J, though, has finished the walls like you mentioned and should be teleporting back down, so we'll break out in the standard lanes here, but just the dual lanes in the top this time.
And the map is definitely inverted. Level 2, at least King have managed to force EP away from the turrets, away from the minion line, so we'll probably hit level 2 first. Braum definitely doesn't offer as much as Thresh in the early levels just because he has the melee auto attack, doesn't have the ranged auto attack for any sort of ranged harass, and level 2 is hit. Got to respect that level 2 from Thresh.
Yeah, Callista's especially is just so deadly. We used to talk about it a lot in the old school Twitch days, and I feel like Callista has some of the same properties where you just get into an extended trade in the early levels and nothing's going to beat Ren.
Absolutely. The Ren damage and then the potential for any sort of CC coming through from Thresh to get the 8, the 7, the 8 Ren stacks, there is significant level 2 damage pressure. No Ignite from Liam though, so maybe telegraphing that they're not looking for the early kill pressure. In fact, Zhu has the Ignite advantage in the 2v2. So maybe King have to respect that from the Graves and Braum.
Yeah, a little weird to me actually to see Cho'Gath with Ignite, given that he's next against an Assassin. He's kind of a farm-heavy mid laner, so wouldn't be surprising me to see Lamb and Assassin swap some of the spells, but Assassin going to keep it a bit more aggressive.
I don't mind the Ignite pickup just because you don't necessarily have to go for the feast stack when you're picking up a kill. You have to just feast and then put down the Ignite for the killing blow. It's just a bit of kill pressure in the mid, and you have to respect that Cho'Gath if you're Raphael, because if you're silenced during the distortion and not able to go back, just, feast, Ignite, pick up a counter kill.
Oh, good hook there, landing on the Kane there. Whoosh not going to get the damage in. Good Ren coming in and a good Unbreakable there for Braum as well, but Kane chunked very low, and if they'd had Ignite, that might have been a kill.
They obviously have taken Exhaust for the team fight, may need it for Amazing J or Kane himself, but yeah, in terms of laning, you can see very clearly. The question is, would Kane have been positioned there if he respected the Ignite coming from the opponent? Maybe not. But we can look in hindsight and say, would have been first blood for King.
Yeah, Drizzle, though, is actually popping his head towards the top side of the map, but will back off towards his Krugs instead. Here he's in the mid lane. Assassin and Raphael going at it, and as sort of expected in this lane, Cho'Gath actually pushing quite aggressively forward.
And look, at the end of the day, not much kill pressure on a Cho'Gath, even in early levels. Has very high base health, base stats, will just get tankier. And Raphael, for once, LeBlanc, doesn't have much kill pressure.
No, just going to try and distort under the waves as they push into the tower and clear them out as efficiently as possible. Good buckshot there, but Kane clears out some of the top side of the waves, and they'll start pushing that in towards the top half of the map as well as the Sentinel. Just looking around, seeing what he can see, but a lot of early farming here breaking out.
Yeah, and Cho'Gath doing very well in the 1v1, so maybe just picking for the lane matchup is the Cho'Gath, as Raphael just forced to farm and has to be so careful, as you mentioned, because if you get silenced, there is kill pressure from the Cho'Gath.
Yeah, I think the nice thing is that given that Cho actually very effectively pushes waves, in this case with the silence, but he also has obviously the Vorpal spikes his E as well, you just sort of auto-push the lane against the block, and that does at least make it tricky to roam, especially because she can't kill you.
It's not a Lulu, but as you mentioned, a very defensive mid lane choice. It's working out just fine for King.
Yeah, MLXG though has actually been spotted off here. Drizzle missed his Q already, but Amazing J is chasing in, and Raphael's going to go in as well. The Q finally lands in there for the second time. But he has enough Fury, and Assassin's rotating in as well. A good double knock up there for Sky. Drizzle going to take a lot of damage here in first blood. Going to go to the Cho'Gath now as Amazing J. He's been ignited. Raphael's trying to get in there. No one has any mana left, but Assassin, little too low. They're going to go down to the auto attack and the ignite. So a trade there, but first blood did go to Assassin.
Raphael actually returned to his W, did not follow the Mimic, did not go in aggressively, and that opened up the 3v2 collapse coming through from King, so they pick up first blood. It's the minimum trade coming through from EP, but it could have been so much more if Raphael went in aggressively.
Kind of a weird roam here as well. Whoosh and Liam are actually in the mid lane now. They're going to play back Raphael. Liam does not line up a hook. Raphael will go back to base here, but looks like they were just taxing the wave a bit because they're going to walk back in towards the top side.
And just a roam, just looking for a bit of pressure in the mid lane, as you mentioned. Just going to slowly walk to top. They lose out on a quite big minion wave to the turret, which is not ideal, but if there had been a more elongated fight, they would have been in position to help add to the fight.
Yeah, good little hot there as well by Wish, using that Q to get over the the ledge and back to the lane a little bit faster here. And going to continue now CSing under the turret. And I guess our other question for Kalista has been, we haven't seen her as much today. She was quite popular, and she's popular among certain players as well, I feel like, in the LPL. But which build are we going to see? She has been altered recently, just a little smoother, but a little less mobile, I guess, with the passive change. So is it going to be the carry build, or is it going to be the Bloodlust build? We actually have Assassin in a lot of trouble there. The stun coming through there after the Braum passive, and a very nice gank by EP.
The mechanics from Raphael were excellent, weaving in the chains through the minion wave onto the Cho'Gath. The roam timing's wonderful from the teammates. This will open up potentially the first dragon coming through. They've already rotated Graves to the bottom lane, so it should be an unanswered first dragon. And King, they're going to try and answer it with a turret in the top lane.
Yeah, smart stuff here by AP, knowing that they already pulled the duo down to take the dragon. And it'll go down very quickly. We've seen a lot of early dragons by Drizzle. He loves to take it early and should be able to secure it. Sky tries for a sapling steal, but it's not going to work out.
And this will allow MLXG to pick up a second red buff stolen away from the jungle. Of course, with the spawn timers, I believe it'll be very soon the King red buff comes up, so might just be a red buff trade, but for now, just the Raptors for Lee Sin.
Yeah, we're continuing to push in now as well. Actually going to get decent damage done to the turret here, hoping somebody walks by, but Amazing J kind of smells her out there and going to walk the long way back towards his turret.
He's used his Ignite, but has Teleport available and the Onslaught of Shadows. Onslaught of Shadows makes Flash look like a chump change gap closer. So long range. So while he'll respect the pressure being put down by Liam, with that ultimate, still very, very safe.
Yeah, Sky level 6 here as well on the Maokai, going for a quick Glacial Shroud. Actually, Liam will miss the hook as well, and Amazing J will just try and CS under his turret as best he can.
But not a Catalyst to speak of whatsoever from Sky. I mean, Catalyst, that's definitely been the cornerstone of every Maokai build we've seen, whether it's Righteous Glory, the Catalyst, hell, even just holding on to the Catalyst to the late game. But no Rod of Ages or Righteous Glory being rushed. Maybe it'll still be the Righteous Glory and just delaying the power spike. Just getting a more immediate power spike with the Glacial Shroud, giving a bit of cooldown reduction. But 8 minutes, no Catalyst, not what we'd expect from a Maokai.
No, and just I feel like everyone started swapping into Maokai specifically to stop the Rod of Ages here. Drizzle is hanging out on the bottom side.
Drizzle just trying to cause some pressure. With the ultimate down, there is potential for a dive, but with that Glacial Shroud we spoke of, maybe enough to dissuade the turret dive.
Yeah, and we've seen already an early Glacial Shroud, I believe also in another 1v2, so it's the same sort of thing where everyone realized that when you got swapped in, you just never got enough gold to get your roller, so why not go a defensive choice? And Righteous Glory is okay, but Glacial Shroud's a lot better early game.
He has a very high health pool anyway. Already has 1100 health, now has some armor, and has the ability to wave clear that much more when the minions finally come to the turret. Even just the sapling sniping away CS. So not going to be penalized, and as you mentioned, not a big deal to pigeonhole himself away from the Rod of Ages.
Yeah, Wish is still pushing in, lay him off to the side, trying to get a hook there around this... around the side of the cliff, but not going to work out there. Amazing J still hanging back here, and actually both CSing quite well despite the swap here. I mean, 10 CS ahead for Sky right now, but no one's really been held down in the early stages.
Didn't mention this, but actually the first throw of the hunt was used in bottom lane. It forced a flash from Kayn, but nothing else to speak of. And I believe 4 members have rotated bot. Need to be very careful here if you're MLXG.
Yeah, Raphael actually has blue buff now as well, so maybe looking for a pick, but doesn't find it. Assassin also with his blue, just going to keep pushing in with the Cho'Gath. And again with the Catalyst, definitely going to be looking for a Rod of Ages here in the mid lane, but Sky might have been caught out. Drizzle just missing the Q. Braum will land his, but Maokai should be able to get away.
Yeah, the Qs have been missing from Drizzle, so that stops any sort of aggression. I'm actually able to clear out this pink ward, so that's another little bonus bit of gold. Amazing J trying to find out where Thresh is. Does a lot of trade damage in the top lane. I mean, very even across the board. Only really Maokai jumping forward in terms of CS against his opponent.
Yeah, just using the saplings, using the extra mana, and trying to AoE clear as best he can in the 1v2. Kalista actually ahead of Graves as well, so a very beneficial early lane swap here as Whoosh has been able to get ahead. Looking through the mid lane though, Assassin, despite how safe his lane is, just starting to fall behind Raphael and CS.
Going to be working towards Rod of Ages. Probably wants to buy it outright from the Catalyst. About 300 gold away from completing that item, so it'll be a decent part-time. But right now, needs to be careful as Merlinomicon does double duty against Cho'Gath, of course. The extra health you get, whether you're feasting a minion, whether it's just coming from the Carnivore passive, all going to be affected by the healing reduction from the Merlinomicon.
Yeah, and so an aggressive choice made even better there for Raphael's LeBlanc in the mid. As Drizzle's now in the top lane, looking for a gank. The Ignite and the ulti are up for Amazing J, so some good tools here in the potential 2v2.
Drizzle hanging back, hasn't shown himself yet. Might be Envision now, is obviously Envision right now. They want to keep the turret up, but they're going in aggressively.
Gonna pull the trigger there. Whoosh getting feedback, but he hops away. Amazing J in the middle. They're trying to rampage away. Drizzle nails him with the Q, flashes forward though and gets exhausted, and then safeguards away because the teleport's coming in. Sky actually forced to cancel it there, and a bit of an interesting exchange, but no one dies.
I don't know what he was looking for with the flash. Maybe just wasn't in resonating strike range and was looking for some sort of ward hop kick. At the end of the day, Whoosh had flash to counter flash. I don't know if that would have worked, but the result, there's no flash available. It was in the bot lane. MXG's found Kane.
Yeah, they're actually going in really hard in each other there, and Kane, yeah, now going to get low. MLXG should be able to get the kill and does, and collateral damage not enough there, and Rengar off to a flying start now.
I believe Kane had lost about half his health just holding the minions and then just was assassinated by MXG's second throw of the hunt. The first blew the flash, returned, and the second picks up the kill. Feeling great. And it's just, again, so even across the board. Second dragon coming down. Kane will be in position and freshly shopped, so perhaps it'll be there for EP. But you know the contest wants to be coming through from King.
Yeah, and that Rod of Age is now done for Assassin, so picked it up very efficiently, now returning to his lane to try and continue up against the LeBlanc here. Raphael pushing nicely, got a bit of damage under the tower, and Amazing J on the top side getting harassed, but help is on the way here, and Whoosh and Lamb are already backing away. Oh, the Q just missing there. It's all the Lantern will get him out, but Drizzle kicks him back there, gets the double knockup. There's the one, the ulti there for Brom, but Fate's call gets threshed to safety.
You have to focus on the Kalista. If you focus on the support, that's what's always going to happen with the Fate's call. Raphael able to sidestep Assassin and doing some nice little trade damage.
Although the W comes out there, and Raphael significantly less health than this Cho gets, so doesn't want to take too many of those trades.
I mean, of course, has the sustain coming out from the Rod of Ages every level, then the Carnivore passive, only able to apply the Grievous Runes debuff when Cho'Gath's below 40% health, which quite a few spell rotations from now.
Yeah, I mean, probably have to use maybe 2 different mana pools there. And Raphael's only got 1 as King down the bottom will actually get a turret here. The first one of the match, in fact, as the bottom side will go down. Looks like Kane just left after getting killed by the jungler, and that left plenty of time for Maokai to finish the turret off.
So Amazing J has been able in the past to kind of vary his Hecarim builds. He's gone for the more defensive builds. He's been able to build Trinity Force at a decent time at this point. He's about 1,200 gold away from completing the item. Does have Teleport Ignite available for the Dragon fight. Dragon is respawned. EP, they haven't got any defensive wards down, no pink wards. In fact, no pink wards in the inventory. A pretty big lapse in vision control, at least from EP's item pool.
Yeah, and the Dragon is up as well, so do you want to try and secure some vision around that area? They already have the first one here, but King are going to move in and try and equalize that. Here's all the Scuttercrab's going to get rendered to pieces there as Sky actually, no, never mind, Whoosh doesn't pull the trigger.
There's just no way to compete for a patient. They don't even have a Sightstone, let alone a green or pink ward in their inventories. If they wanted to double down and pick up a second Dragon, they needed to set up for it. They did not set up for it whatsoever, and King happy to pick one up.
No, and Drizzle, who's been so good at taking early Dragons and keeping time, is not quite getting it done. Trying to poke in for a Q, but can't find a line, and King just going to walk out very safely. The only consolation, Amazing J is in the top lane. He might be able to pick up the turret.
A lot of damage to the turret. I don't think Maokai will be able to rotate before it goes down. It's going to power through a minion wave, and it's got about 20% life, so Maokai probably not going to get in position. You're happy to trade one of the first 2 Dragons for a turret, so the overall trade fine for EP. It's just weird to me that they went committed to the first Dragon and didn't put even 100 gold into a pink ward to try and open up this second Dragon.
Yeah, we've said that about EP a couple of times. You mentioned, of course, the almost famous at this point early Scion Dragon with Lee Sin, which was actually, I think, Drizzle's first game playing with this team. And they've clearly, they've got a lot of good early plans. They're certainly an innovative team, but sometimes it feels like they just don't execute as well on their game plans as they possibly could.
And look, if the game plan was, let's get Trinity Force up on Hecarim, let's not opt into a fight till he has that big power spike coming through from that item, I completely understand it, but to just not even buy any wards towards it, it's either the most intelligent meta play you can make as EP, or just an oversight, and I'm inclined to think it's the latter.
Yeah, I think so as well. As Raphael returning to the mid lane now, has a needlessly large rod all finished up to go along with the Realnomicon, so damage is starting to mount here, but Raphael, 1-0-1, I'm actually impressed he's been able to get any participations at all, because Assassin keeps pushing him in this lane.
I mean, Assassin's just happy to just auto the wave with the Vorpal spikes, clear it with the Rupture, is maxing the Rupture second, just like we saw coming through from Hetong. Has plenty of AoE wave clear, and at this point, doesn't have to respect the damage coming through from Raphael.
No, just has to get in, clear the waves, and get out, and he's evened up the CS as well, so Raphael, just kind of dodging in and out, won't really be hit by a skill shot that easily, but just can't go aggressive. An energy pacemaker trying to find a gank somewhere on the bottom side, but that's not forthcoming either.
Assassin, he's basically on Lulu duty. He's just looking to wave clear and stop any assassination coming through from LeBlanc, but he doesn't have the utility that Lulu has. So again, we'll have to be very practiced in team fights to hit those skill shots. Because if you don't, I mean, just don't provide a lot as Cho'Gath.
Kane actually down the bottom. MLXG's ulted actually. Going to leap in on top. Good bowler actually will land there, but the teleport's going to come in as well. MLXG going to get stunned up on a broad passive. No, but Drizzle will follow him in there. Kicks one back with a Fate Skull, moves him out, but Amazing J comes in, fears him just on the end after he pops out, and Whoosh going to be the next kill as well. Amazing play by Amazing J.
Absolutely. Lives up to his name. Had the Trinity Force freshly shopped. No more of a power spike possible. Didn't even use the Ignite. Of course, Maokai will get some aggressive pressure onto the top turret, but it's not going to be able to be answered. But Assassin, he wants a counter kill.
He's going to look in for it. He's actually met Raphael there in the mid side of the map, who's just been able to get out of the way. Does have flash, so pretty unlikely to die in the distortion. Going to be enough there as well. The T2 turret did go down in the bottom as well. So Assassin, again, anchored to his main lane, can only really wave clear. Can't roam down and affect the bottom side.
I mean, you'd have to think he'd at least cause a few heart palpitations, face-checking a massive alien in the brush, as you do with LeBlanc. But LeBlanc, as you mentioned, with all the mobility, doesn't die during the trade.
No, and finally Raphael able to get out of that lane, and a great port plus a gank from EP gets him the first real edge here. And honestly, not that massive. The gold lead's still only about 600 gold. It's going to be a bit more even depending on how much damage Assassin can get done as he slowly ponders towards the lantern and able to pick it up. But EP, they've started turning the heat up. They've just got to keep going.
They need to group and start taking these outer turrets. There's no way for LeBlanc to get any turret damage onto a Cho'Gath. So much ranged wave clear. In fact, the wave clear is not wonderful for EP. It's kind of close range with the buckshot coming through from Graves. Definitely need their AD carry group to take that turret. So might as well commit some resources to mid. Look for a pick. Because right now, not going to be able to break the base with Cho'Gath anchored to the mid lane.
No, and the best news for King is that Whoosh has had a very easy early landing phase. 160 CS almost in 18 minutes. Still ahead of this Graves by 20 or 25. And already has a Bloodthirster plus a recurve bow.
I'm just going to be going for the Ren set build again. Has been target nerfed a little bit in this patch. Still very viable. The mobility going to be that much lower with Martial Poise. But Kane picks up the red buff. He's got the Infinity Edge. The one item power spike's not massive for Graves with the 20% rather than the 25% crit on that item. But hey, if the RNG is in your favor, do plenty of damage.
Yeah, he'll take it here as Thresh will go back and pick up a few more new items. Frozen Heart already done for Sky actually, so rushing that very aggressively to go along with the Catalyst. So probably a Righteous Glory coming in eventually. But we're starting to see this a little bit more from Marca as they really love their early Frozen Heart.
I mean, rushing the Frozen Heart, the 20% CDR, and then just all the armor and then the debuff. You know, it double dips just a bit like how Ninja Tabi gives you reduced auto attack damage, then armor, which further reduces auto attack damage. Similar sort of situation with Frozen Heart. Amazing J probably going to look for a Frozen Heart of his own, but the one item power spike of the Trinity Force, he even has the Ignite. If he can power up that devastating charge, he's going to be doing insane burst in the next fight.
Yeah, we've seen it again. I mean, Trinity Force in general on these sort of bruises is an item that, you know, the timing is very important, but he's had a very strong lane. A little bit behind in CS. Interestingly, Sky ahead there in that metric, but, you know, Amazing J's got his Trinity Force. The first major teleport was great for him as well, and from this point on, it just gets better for Hecarim as long as he can keep up.
And there's a lot of top laners that scale well with Trinity Force, but just the amount of times Amazing J scales with Trinity Force because of all the move speed interaction with his passive means that Hecarim, next to Aurelia and Corki, one of the most efficient uses of that ability is MLXG's popped the ultimate in the bot lane again, but Raphael very, very able to open up space and get away from the thrill of the hunt.
Yeah, looking for the LeBlanc, but a very pesky target to try and pin down here. Raphael, even with the flash up still as well, be pretty hard to pick off. EP continuing their pressure in the mid side of the map though. Well, should be able to get the turret here, actually make it 4 turrets here to EP, who've done a very nice job of keeping grouped and rotating around.
And that's the thing about Cho'Gath. Missed a couple of skill shots, then wasn't able to clear the wave because Rupture was on cooldown. Had to watch as the turret was completely stolen under his nose. And EP, they get the turret and they get out.
Yeah, going for that Morellonomicon though. Interested to see if Assassin is going to go for all the CDL with the cooldown boots as well, which we did see, of course, already today by Hetong, actually, of Vici Gaming. But King will answer nicely. They get the turret of their own here as Whoosh actually able to clean it out, and we're equalizing the turrets a bit, and now a Dragon Fight's on. Oh, Chu actually going very deep in Amazing J, trying to find a good line. A great knock up there from the Braum multi, and Amazing J just going to hold back, but Braum's already been eaten. Layham, though, flashing in aggressively as Amazing J finally runs down Whoosh. Kane a little low as well, throws the Buckshot in as Drizzle gets the kill onto Thresh, but now Sky managed to kill Amazing J. Kane way too low there, goes down to the flash arcane smash of Sky, and a 3-for-2 trade in favor of King.
Yeah, the team fighting was very on point from King in that fight. Maokai and Cho'Gath controlled so much space. MLXG able to get a lot of damage down on the carries. Smart team fighting. Might even open up an inner turret. They don't have a minion wave to support it, but a very, very tanky. They could probably happily go pick up the dragon. It looks like that's what they're going to do. But EP, they just grouped up for burst and ate it all from Cho'Gath.
Yeah, I mean, Kane got a little too low in Assassin. It's funny we talk about it, but Cho'Gath does do decent AoE when everybody's clumped up, and like you mentioned, that's exactly what happened. So Raphael, now the Death Cap going to look in towards the dragon. Not going to find King, interestingly, so might be able to keep them off this objective, but King with a good fight. Maybe a little lackluster on the rotations afterwards, though, because they might not get either of the objectives they looked at.
Yeah, I feel like they didn't need to do that inner turret damage. They could just go back and pick up the dragon, but they might be seeding the dragon at this point. There's no... Actually, teleport is complete on Amazing J, so I have to respect his coming into the fight. 2,000 health. Assassin, he tries to come in, maybe look for a feast, but no meal for Cho'Gath this time.
No, can't close the distance there, so... Unfortunately, can't get drive through, so we'll just have to walk back there as the second dragon will go to EP. Amazing Day, like you mentioned, had the telly ready to go, but just a little late on the rotation there for King. Gives them up an objective that honestly was theirs after the fight they just won. So the game very even. The dragon, I believe, the only big advantage here as far as objectives go. EP up a tower as well, so not too bad, but very close here at this point, and be curious to see what happens once we get to the next dragon fight.
EP just needs to be more on point with their team fighting after clumping up for the AoE coming through from Cho'Gath. In the next fight, Kane was split away, so he wasn't eating the AoE, but he was split away from his tanks. Need to watch the engages coming through. Amazing J was always going to cover a lot of distance, and again, he's mostly tuned at the moment for split pushing. He doesn't have the big tank items completed to be an immovable force in the fight. If he ever falls low, you have the assassination damage coming through from Cho'Gath, so a lot of considerations to consider, and no health yet, as Raphael, he just kills Lamb.
Yeah, finds Lamb, and with that death cap, able to get a very easy kill. Assassin going to get stunned there by Braum. Passive Drizzle going to kick him back in. The buckshot and the Braum multi roll in his own. Amazing J going to pop the ulti as well. MLXG going to find Raphael, and Whoosh is trying to get away. The Ren is actually stacking up. The Hurricane's completed. Sky's coming in, but there's the triple actually coming in for LeBlanc. Now Shu going to rotate in as well. Raphael going to fish for the next one coming in. There's the stun coming through. Raphael going to land the chains as well. The Twisted Advance going to move back in. Whoosh has to be careful though, but going to pop some more Rens down in. Getting low there, but Whoosh gets the next kill. Kane diving in trying to get it, but he gets hopped out of the buckshot, and now Sky still not dead somehow. There's a double kill actually coming through for Whoosh, and crazy fight, 3 for 2.
And you could see Whoosh's eyes lighting up as so many low health members were walking into his bloodthirster Hurricane build. He had so much effective lifesteal that he stayed healthy throughout the fight. Could have potentially been a pentakill turnaround, despite once Graves flashed in and missed the buckshot, closed distance with a quick draw and missed the buckshot, fell as well. Raphael had to respect the Whoosh, and it's a very close fight again, despite at the start looking like a landslide win for EP.
And I think that's sort of the interesting thing about Graves Callisto especially is that Graves very, very good in effectively melee range, right? That's sort of the point. He's got a shotgun. So when Callista continually hops away from you, all your skill shots just feel like they're never going to hit.
I mean, skill shots in general against Callista are just no fun. You need some predictions on the level of Marta, perhaps, to be able to hit the Braum abilities, let alone anyone else with line skill shots. Raphael just needs to go for the double distortion, just assassinate the Whoosh wherever possible.
Maybe just use the Qs. Can't touch that one. That targeted is Kane. Going to clear out the Raptors now as well. Whoosh is getting very strong on this Callista. 2, 2, and 4 still ahead of Graves in CS, and already had those 2 items. We tend to call that the jumping off point for Callista, and now Last Whisper halfway done with a pickaxe as well as MLXG. Going to dive in a hook there, landing on Raphael, trying to find the line. He does actually get the chains onto Skies. Drizzle's going to dive back in. Kickback there does disengage well, and King are forced to back off.
We see a lot of poke damage onto Lamb. Does not get the kill this time as the null magic mana has been completed to give him a little bit of magic resist. EP, they'll be happy with that engage. Everyone focused fire onto Shu on the very tanky Braum. They're going to counter push. They don't have the tank items to really fight. That's kind of their issue, is that Amazing J is deceptively squishy in the front line. He's 2,000 gold away from being very relevant in the fights, but at the moment, he's kind of wanting for tankiness.
Yeah, and you know, we're split pushing a lot, getting that gold up. We maybe would have liked to see just a bit more grouping from Graves, LeBlanc especially, just to make sure that, you know, you stay grouped and pick some people off and give Amazing J some more room. But EP doing a lot of grouping as 5, and it is costing them a little bit here in these straight-up fights.
And they just haven't built a lot of armor. We see the armor starting to be built up on Amazing J, has the Warden's Mail to complement the Glacial Shroud, but no armor whatsoever on any of the other members of EP. Means they have to choose these fights carefully, because if they don't, we've already seen what Whoosh can do in a fight.
Yeah, and he's only getting stronger here as well on the Kalista, which is pretty scary to think about. We have a Dragon coming up as well, 1 minute 45 for that next one here. And again, a very close game. It's going to be decided by the small advantages people can get around the major objectives.
Big jump in power by Amazing J, finally finishing up the Frozen Heart. Again, he still doesn't have the massive health ball, so he has to be very on point against the Cho'Gath in particular, just with the true damage, potentially taking him down the front line when he's trying to tank up all the aggression. If he can isolate Whoosh in the back of a fight, stop the Ren from being spread on his teammates, I can see EP winning a fight, but they need to be so careful.
MLXG, they're going to get sorted out, but Raphael will go down there as Maokai locks Paul LeBlanc down, and King going to get the tier 2. In fact, diving in onto Brom there, but the kick does come back. The hook will land though as well, and they'll dive back in onto Brom. Cho'Gath gets the towers too. Can't get away there, and Whoosh is running wild in the back.
Yeah, so tanky are both the solo laners. Of course, Cho'Gath has such a high natural health pool. Got a Rod of Ages with 10 stacks as well. They're able to pretty much disregard these turrets in 7 stacks. My apologies. They're going to take an inhibitor turret, and EP, Amazing J, he's the frontline tank, and he's just watching.
Yeah, just not tanky enough, I guess, at this point, and can't dive in with no one else from EP to really follow up. Raphael died around. MLXG going to dive back in. Amazing J getting looked by the Twisted Advance, feasted on as well there, and Assassin claims the kill. Inhibitor going to go down as well, and King massively ahead now.
Yeah, the 2.5-second signs coming out from the Feral Scream meant that Amazing J couldn't even use the Onslaught of Shadows to escape. You know, it was silenced during the duration of that. And the tankiness, as you mentioned, is the big issue. No one can dive onto this King lineup and try and kill Whoosh. And the one time Raphael gets caught, dies instantly, of course, to the focus fire after the Twisted Advance. EP, they've got some pretty big damage holes. We're looking at Kayn, none more so than Kayn. He's been sitting on Zeal and a longsword for a long time now. A Vampiric Scepter doesn't really help him do damage. He doesn't really need the sustain. He needs to be killing these frontline champions. It looks like a long time before Phantom Dancer and Last Whisper will be finished on this Graves.
And you know what? Graves, especially at this point, not really that good of a tank buster here. And I think we might understand what the Cho'Gath is doing in this comp, because it is just such a good frontline to keep supporting the Kalista.
It's just doing better than expected, I have to say, Page Time. Again, because Amazing J went for Trinity Force, had a very comfortable early laning phase, but as a sole frontline tank, at the moment he can't fulfill his duty. Drizzle didn't go for a Randuin's, built the Aegis just for a bit more AoE magic resist. I mean, not a lot of magic damage coming through, decent magic damage coming through from Assassin, but of course balances that with true damage. If he had the Randuin's and could at least start diving this Kalista, it'd be a different fight.
I mean, I think I agree, and we've seen this a lot against teams that successfully play against Kalista. Take big tanks into her. She can't really tank bust, especially with this build, and just get on top of her and make sure she never does anything, because as soon as the first Ren comes down, we call it a Ren set for a reason. They just keep going.
Absolutely. If Amazing J, could count on the safeguard Randuin's Lee Sin diving with him, then absolutely you could go offensive. Just ignore Assassin. As you remember, EP ignoring Assassin when they were taking this mid turret. Just play around the Cho'Gath, who has to hit skill shots with ramp up times, with cast times, in order to be effective in fights. But Drizzle going for this Aegis, it's really gimped, unfortunately, EP's frontline. They just don't have any options to dive this Kalista, and Whoosh has been so safe.
Yeah, he has, and it's just translated into such a big advantage for the King team. I mean, again, when they have good game, it's tend to be Whoosh that gets ahead, and he's had a fantastic game so far. Last Whisper already done here at under 30 minutes. He's doing a lot of good damage here.
I mean, if he could get that gold back from the Vampiric Scepter, at least Kayn will be working towards a Last Whisper, but it's looking so far away. 2,000 gold away from the Last Whisper for him to even have a semblance of tank busting ability. And King's frontline compared to EP's, it's just night and day.
Yeah, and it's pretty much all frontline, really. I mean, even Rengar's gone for a tanky build here as well, and we already know that the Cho'Gath, despite doing decent damage, is very tanky. So, I mean, look at the health pool on Assassin. That's over 3,000 already.
I mean, that's, 10-stack Rite of Ages, and just the Feast passive is just giving him so much effective health. He's going to be level 16 soon. It's only going to get bigger in terms of model size and health. And there's just nothing EP can do. They're just relegated to watching.
Yeah, Sky even split pushing actually against Amazing J, which is not what we're really expecting this particular matchup. I mean, Amazing J gonna try to do some damage.
Probably run out of mana before he could kill the Maokai.
I think so too. And Sky almost got the tier 2 in the bottom side of the map as well. So EP running out of options here. Sky even going aggressive, actually going to Twisted Advance on top of Amazing J, queuing back there and just kind of clear out the minion waves. And, you know, a bit of a wet noodle fight here in the bottom side, but Sky's actually getting ahead. That Twisted Advance is doing work, and Amazing J forced her back towards the turret.
And yep, Amazing J below half mana. Definitely no way to kill this Maokai.
No, as you said, going to run out of mana there, and Sky just going to ignore him. Going to go back for a little bit of extra damage, but he'll get the turret eventually.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the reverse flavor from Assassin, who had to watch the turret fall. Feels like Amazing J also is going to have to watch his turret fall. And speaking of falling, they have to respect the throw of the hunt, back away. And EP, they're in damage minimization mode. Definitely not looking for assertive picks. They're just hoping for this game to turn. And I guess it might be on Kane finishing that last Whisper.
Yeah, but he needs a lot of farm to get to that spot here as well. So EP going to back away. The tier 2 will fall. That's the 6th turret of the game that's gone down here. And Sky is working on the 7th and should get it relatively soon. The ping's on the Baron actually coming out now as well. Sky will get the tower in the bottom side of the map. And King going to walk in and take what looks to be a pretty simple Baron.
I mean, that's the interesting thing with that we've seen is that the Cho'Gath feels like the answer to LeBlanc. It feels like the answer to mid-lane assassins. Okay, sometimes your comp doesn't allow for it, but in this case, where they have such a strong front line, Assassin doesn't even need to build armor to be a deterrent for EP's diving. And the comp's working very well. They've got excellent Baron secure. I feel like they're going to go for this.
Drizzle's going to try to steal, but it'll be a very difficult steal. I mean, he's going to rush in there, but Amazing J going to move in. The Baron actually does go down there. Rengar gets it, so it goes to King, but Amazing J a little too low there. Drizzle in the back line getting low as well, and Shu dives in there trying to get another kill, but he can't even do that onto MLXG. He'll be the next to fall. Raphael looking for it as well, but the double already come due for Whoosh. A great move, though, for Raphael. Does get him the first kill, and MLXG has to run very far away. LeBlanc going to dive in. MLXG does not want to face check that distortion, but Raphael decides not to go back in, and as the dust settles, 3 for 1 in favor of King.
Raphael doesn't have the Mimic level 16 yet for it to be very low cooldowns. It doesn't have that ability off cooldown just yet. King are able to get out with the Baron. Raphael doing his best pawn impression, but it's just not enough.
No, and did a lot of damage, did finally kill the carry here, but Whoosh is only getting stronger. A Phantom Dancer has been completed now as well for even more mobility, and it's kind of a weird-looking build. You know, we don't see Infinity Edge at this point. That's a very big Cho'Gath.
Yep, that Cho'Gath is really big. Does he have the Elixir of Iron running? He does. That is a model size right there. He went for a ride and looked so silly.
Takes the lance and kind of flies across the map, all fancy-free. And yeah, Assassin's pretty large at this point here. And you know what? Not so bad. You're going to block a fair amount of skill shots.
I mean, yeah. He's just actually dancing in the middle. And look at Thresh inside the Cho'Gath. It's hilarious.
It is. I mean, and effective as well. Like, Assassin, literally very large, but very tanky as well, and still doing respectable damage. And again, Cho'Gath is one of those things where in the comp that Vici played, looked amazing there in that poke comp. As MLXG actually hopping to the crowd, but he's going to get caught here. So much CC and damage coming in, and Raphael just cleans him off the rip.
I feel like that was very cathartic for EP. I don't know what they're going to get off that pick. Like, we got him, boys.
I mean, you're not getting this Assassin here. I think they'll feel like they've killed some giant raid boss if they ever kill Assassin in this game. I think they'll kill him and expect Treasure to drop out. But unfortunately, that's not what's going to happen.
Treasure might be a little bit of experience, I guess. He's level 16. He's very high level, but yeah, he's really big.
He's so slow as well with the bottle size.
He's not actually that slow. He just looks slow.
Very ponderous here as Assassin. He is blocking almost an entire choke point. Look at him. That actually he's actually blocking the choke.
Just watch him walk next to
between
Thresh.
the buffs. Poor Thresh.
As we just relegated to enjoying the size of Assassin's model. As that's just EP have no answers at all. They're just waiting for Dragon to fall, waiting for them to lose the game. Wake me up when this game ends is the words they're singing. Maybe there's slightly different lyrics to that song, but man, King. They're winning this game.
They are, and the neutral control continues here as well. Kalista will secure the 3rd dragon, and that'll speed up the giant Cho'Gath by a little bit here as well. But I mean, funny as well, just as it kind of works out, because this Cho'Gath is fine. I mean, we talked about it. Looked great in Vici's comp, but looks fine in this one as well to protect this hyper carry.
Absolutely, and Whoosh just jumping around so hard to hit with any skill shots, and then you have to respect the Rupture coming through from Cho'Gath. We've already seen the power of the Feral Scream coming through. No tenacity barring at the moment the top laner and the jungler. So, I mean, if ever Raphael eats the Feral Scream, just won't be able to distort back, just won't be able to mimic, and will be a free kill with his low health pool. I believe the Feast is going to be doing about half Raphael's health at this point now that he's level 16. And EP, King, with their very strong front line, EP just don't have any answers. They don't know what to do.
I mean, that front line's amazing here. Whoosh at this point can almost stand in Assassin's model, and that'll be enough protection. Just dancing around the back line as well. Raphael finds a good line. Amazing Dexy going to dive in on top, uses the ultimate, gets peeled off perfectly there, and King are going to dive back in. They've already got 1 kill there, and EP, they can't get through these tanks. Good double rupture there as well. Drizzle going to be the next target. He gets flayed back in there as well. Sky is tanking the turret here, but it doesn't matter. There's plenty of health left on King. The double kill there for Kalista. Going to leap in and try and make him more. The Fate's Call coming in there as well. They want more kills, but Raphael will get the trade there onto Thresh. It's only 3 for 1, but the King just going to finish the game.
Yeah, it looks like there's nothing EP can do to stay in the game. The Cho'Gath pick is a master stroke at this point. Nothing LeBlanc can do, although she'll get a nice kill. Pad her stats 8-1-3 is LeBlanc on the losing team. And King, we thought it was EP that were going to bring something new. It's not necessarily something new, but just a new feather to the cap for Assassin. It's not the Zed, it's not the Assassins that his namesake suggests. Going for the AP Cho'Gath in the mid, very capable, played his role, and Raphael tried to skip past him in every fight, but that's all he could do.
And that's the thing, you just can't. Soaks all the damage in any sort of AoE, able to absorb skill shots, peels perfectly. There's great reactive CC does Cho'Gath, and Whoosh must have felt so safe in that game.
And the thing about Raphael, he gets a great kill score, but of course every time he left lane, Cho'Gath's wave clear, with the high AP ratios, with the high base on Rupture, just wave clearing, wailing away at the turret. The turret pressure was real, and Raphael, picked up the kills, but nothing his team could do comp-wise to deal with just the biggest Cho'Gath.
The biggest Cho'Gath in the world, and King looking desperately for points now as well. We're going to be up for game 2 in a second. We'll see if they can kill the Assassin's very large Cho'Gath. Don't get anywhere after this quick break. Game 2 between EP and King returns.